Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories. And if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. And let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from Jackson Ryder, who says, "Wife says I need to get over it, but I can't stop obsessing over a prank that ruined my wedding experience and left me furious." Wife says, I need to get over it, but I can't stop obsessing over a prank that ruined my wedding experience and left me furious. Had an amazing wedding experience that was completely ruined by a prank my wife and friends played during the garter removal. Am I the arsehole for refusing to let it go? During the reception, we were all doing the usual wedding games. Eventually I was told it was time to do the garter removal. As everyone gathered around us in the middle of the dance floor, my wife was sitting in a chair and my friends brought out a blindfold and told me that I'd be doing the garter removal blindfolded. I should have been suspicious at their grins, but I'd had some drinks. Wasn't suspecting anything, put it on and tried to be a good sport about it. As everyone seemed like they were having a great time, myself included. As soon as I was blindfolded, however, my wife slipped out of the chair and was replaced by one of my groomsmen. He's a friend of the family I've grown up with, but I would not say we are close. Now, I literally cannot stand him, although he's not a bad guy other than my anger at this prank. Sitting in the chair in place of my wife, my groomsman was in shorts with a garter around his thigh. My wife stood up behind him and was talking to me as they walked me over, to keep me fooled into thinking it was her. On their instructions, I got down on my knees and began reaching for what I thought were my wife's legs. Once I found the leg, I found the garter and began pulling it down. But at that moment I heard my wife saying, with your mouth, with your mouth. So I leaned forward and grasped the garter belt in my mouth, to the shrieks and applause of the crowd. With the garter in my teeth, I pulled it down his leg, and then my wife actually came around to help me get it over his shoe because it got stuck. Once I had the garter, they told me to stand up and take off my blindfold. When I did, I was smiling because I thought I'd been a good sport and everyone was laughing so hard it seemed like everyone was having a great time. But when I took off the blindfold, everyone burst into even louder laughter. For a moment, the entire energy of everyone at the wedding was focused on nothing besides laughing at me being the sole butt of the joke. It felt awful. I was furious. I wanted to say and do a million different things, but I didn't. For some reason, I just felt that pretending it wasn't a big deal was the best defense. That showing anger would be confirming how badly I'd just been humiliated for their delight, and that would have made my humiliation all the worse. So I sucked it up, slept walk through the rest of the wedding while doing my best to keep a smile on my face. My wife could tell I was stunned, but she kept on going too. She definitely had no idea how badly I was taking it. Everyone was standing around us and we couldn't talk openly about how I felt, at least not without ruining everything. And I didn't know whether I wanted to go there after all the effort and money put into the wedding. And I kept sucking it up the next day at brunch and for the most of the next week through most of our honeymoon. At some point I told myself that my wife didn't mean to hurt me and there was no reason to ruin her wedding memories by telling her that my experience had been ruined. But then at the end of our honeymoon, I'd had a few drinks and I just couldn't help it. And once I started talking to her about it, I just went off. I told her it was trashy, that it hurt, if not destroyed my trust and sense of intimacy towards her. I was harsh and got carried away. After her first apologizing a bit, she got upset and left me sitting out there. I think I just kept going because I felt hurt and wanted to maybe make her feel bad as well, to be honest. Since then, it's been a difficult subject. I've told her I don't want to hear about the wedding. I don't want to write thank you notes, look at pictures. If it was tomorrow, I wouldn't make plans to celebrate our anniversary. My wife and I have a lot of strength in our relationship, but I just can't stop thinking about this and the feeling that when I took off that blindfold, I literally cannot stop my mind from replaying it over and over, and I get mad again every time. And perhaps the worst part of it is that it's all recorded. We had a professional photographer shooting a video, and in the video I see at least 4 other people recording it on their phones. Watching the video, I find myself looking at laughing faces of family and friends in the video, and there's a part of me that I'd never act on, that wants nothing more than to punch them all in their faces. The fact that I know these videos are out there makes it feel like it's constantly happening to me. My wife says that she's sorry, that she thought I would take it better and laugh it off, that I need to move on. I think maybe I am the arsehole. No good is coming from obsessing over this, but I literally cannot let it go. I find myself coming up with reasons to be angry. I tell myself sometimes it was assault because I was tricked into putting my mouth on another man's leg without my consent. But I think that's just rationalizing my anger. I don't know. A commenter says to OP, you are totally allowed to be pissed off and totally get it. It's one of those that some would find funny and some wouldn't. The planner clearly didn't read you well enough and neither did your wife. However, at some point you need to move on. Being pissed off about it all the time isn't going to solve anything and could end up driving your missus away. So, what do you want to happen? She's apologized, you have vented, and now? Opie says, I don't know. I think this is why I get so mad about it. I don't know what can be done to take away that feeling of taking off the blindfold, seeing him instead of her, everyone breaking out laughing at me, looking up to see her laughing at me, realizing I was the butt of the joke and everyone had been laughing at me instead of along with me the whole time. But you're right. What do I want now? I don't know. Maybe there's nothing I want other than to forget about it, and when I think about it, part of me wants to be a good sport and part of me gets so mad I can go either way. I hate it. Another commenter says, my husband played a prank when he took off my garter. He pulled a baby doll out of my dress. I'm an L&D nurse, so it was genuinely funny. It didn't embarrass me and I actually thought it was cute to incorporate him participating in my job. Everyone laughed, but not at me. I'm pretty sure he's not super comfy about being that intimate, taking off garter in front of everyone, so they gave him the diversion he needed. And I mean, it is kind of weird when you think about it. Anyway, pranks shouldn't be used as an excuse to hurt people and then be mad about it. Also, was it her idea or the groomsman? Just wondering if she trusted your friend with what you would find funny. A commenter says, to put it bluntly, the reason you can't get over it is because you felt disrespected at an event that's supposed to honor you and your wife and your union, and your wife was behind it. That's a really bad time to pull a prank, and shame on whoever thought it up and thought that was a good idea. Weddings are not there to humiliate the bride and groom. You need to express to your wife that you felt disrespected in your relationship. You want to feel love and respect from her just like she wants to feel those from you, and you didn't feel either of those things when she made you feel like a joke. Another commenter says, I had a similar thing happen at a baby shower where everyone, including me, was instructed to put a sack over their heads. They were previously told to remove their sacks while I alone kept the sack on my head. When I began to hear snickering and laughter, I took my sack off and realized I was the butt of the joke. I laughed but felt very foolish and quite embarrassed. There's always mean-spirited people who suggest these types of pranks. Absolutely not funny or a happy memory of my baby shower. Not the arsehole. A commenter says, not the arsehole. If you smashed cake in her face for the laughs, what would her reaction have been? These ones are always pretty simple to me, and it's simply that, a prank is only funny if the person being pranked is going to laugh about it too. Otherwise, it just comes across as mean-spirited to me. Surely, his wife or one of the groomsmen should have known whether this was his kind of humor before making him, the sole butt of the joke in front of the entire wedding. And the fact that it's filmed by multiple people with multiple angles as well probably makes it even worse for him. And I don't think, the guests are being malicious or anything like that, but I can understand why he felt humiliated rather than amused in that moment. But it was 2.5 months later that another post appeared and it said, hi everyone, this is the wife. If you know us and what this is about, please know we're very embarrassed about this. We took it down, but it's been shared so many times it just keeps trickling on, so I'm writing this for both of us. This is the last thing we want to say about this. My husband deeply regrets some of the language he used. He intended to write anonymously and was letting out unfiltered emotions. Abraham Lincoln said, write an angry letter and tear it up. My husband made the mistake of hitting post assuming this was harmless venting. He regrets it. We've reached out to and are on good terms with everyone involved. Everything is fine. As regards to the wedding, I'm the only one who messed up here. Our planner gave us options. I watched the videos. I thought it was funny. I messed up. This isn't opinion, it's fact. I messed up because it wasn't funny to the only person who mattered to me. I want people to understand both of our perspectives because no one here is an arsehole. What my husband didn't make clear is that he was an absolute sweetheart at the wedding and afterwards. Overall, our honeymoon was amazing, and he didn't mention at all that he only got mad at the end because I was teasing him about it. And I was only teasing him because I had no idea he was upset about it. I could tell I was needling him, but it was meant to be good-natured. Having said all of that, on my own behalf, Of course, I thought he would think this was funny. He has a great sense of humor. We joke around a lot and always will. It's just hit different and sometimes that happens. I feel like an idiot taking the risk at our wedding. I didn't exactly tell him to get over it. I couldn't talk about it anymore when it was first brought up because I love my husband. I was upset to hear him get angry, probably in large part because he never gets angry like that. Afterwards, we decided to wait to talk about it until we could do so calmly. At the same time, we didn't need him to get over it to move forward. We can't never mention our wedding or anniversary again or live with anger. To the casual eye, it looks like this is a well-received prank in 100 different videos. I thought it would go over well and so did everyone else. I do now wonder if there are videos of this prank didn't get posted because the husband made clearer he didn't like it. Bottom line, this was unfortunate and completely unnecessary, but you live, you learn, we're doing great, and this has been blown way out of proportion. On the bright side, how many couples can say their weddings were covered by the New York Post? We're happily moving on. My husband says he hopes everyone gets his thank you cards. That's it. Goodbye. So there was a comment on the back of this that the wife added, but she removed it for some reason. It said, I want people to understand both of our perspectives because no one here is an arsehole. I probably would not have liked it if at our wedding my husband had tricked me into getting down on my knees between another man's legs and taken something off his thigh with my mouth while everyone stood around laughing and filming it. I probably would have thought it's tacky and possibly gross depending on who the guy was. I would get trashed for this, but I did not think it would be the same for a guy. Ooh, bloody hell, that comment. And, I don't fully buy the no one is the arsehole part. She says she's the only one who's messed up, but then immediately starts explaining why she thought it was funny, why everyone else thought it funny, and why it got blown out of proportion. To me, you can make a mistake without being malicious and, still be the arsehole in that situation. And then she's admitting herself, she'd probably be upset if the roles were reversed and she'd been tricked into doing something similar with another man. And yes, there's probably regret in there from her, but for me, part of the update just feels like she was taking responsibility with one hand while softening it with the other, right? I don't know, what do you guys make of this situation? Some of the commenters were saying, he's probably being held hostage in the basement with some of that wording in there. But what do you guys make of this one? Let us know your thoughts and let's move on to another story. Now our next story comes from a Part Landscape 220 who says, am I the arsehole here for not wanting to help with my niece's party? My older sister, 29 female, and brother-in-law, 28 male, have struggled financially for basically their entire adult lives. They became parents to 3 girls really young, so I've always tried to give them grace and help where I can. Last year, my son turned 2. We had his birthday party about 2 weeks early because his actual birthday is usually too cold for outdoor stuff where we live. My husband and I invited my sister to do a combined birthday party at our house for my niece, who was turning 8 around the same time. Because money was tight for them and because they were stressing about costs constantly, I ended up paying for basically everything for my niece's side too. Decorations, food, cake, etc. I had already rented a bounce house for my son, but upgraded it so older kids could use it too. I also promised my other 2 nieces, 11 and 10, that I'd help make their birthday special this summer because they did not have a party last year due to their parents' finances. So now their party is coming up in June. This past weekend, my nieces called me asking if I was still helping plan it. Obviously, I said yes because I love them and would never want to disappoint them. At first, my sister wanted to do the party at a park. My nieces didn't even want that because it'd be hot, humid, or raining. I suggested renting out an arcade in my city and doing a Stranger Things themed arcade party for 3 hours. The girls were so excited about it. Then my sister shut it down immediately because she said the 50 people she invited wouldn't want to drive 25 minutes. Here's the thing. Most of these people aren't even there for the kids. Half of them don't have children, won't bring gifts, and are basically just my brother-in-law's family and friends who turn everything into a drinking, smoking, loud music, and drama. My nieces didn't even want a lot of them there in the first place. Meanwhile, I offered to pay for the arcade rental, food, decorations, cake, basically everything. But my sister still refused because she wants everyone to be able to come. At that point, I told her if the priority is hosting a giant cookout for adults instead of an actual kid's birthday party, then she could pay for it herself. Now we're arguing about what I should still contribute financially, and honestly, I'm frustrated because they're planning to feed 50 people while barely having groceries at home. I literally had to DoorDash dinner to their family recently because they had no food. At this point, I'm considering just mailing my nieces their gifts and stepping away from the whole thing. Am I the arsehole here? Oh, ones with kids in, man, it absolutely breaks my heart because OP's offering to pay for everything, do something the kids actually want to do. An arcade party sounds like a lot more fun than a birthday cookout with 50 adults, right? And in some ways it sounds like it's not about the kids at all, it's just a get together that they want to host. And OP seems to be paying for everything. One of the top commenters says, "Take your nieces out for a birthday day and let your sister have the home party she wants, not the arsehole." And I'm thinking, yeah, absolutely that. Another commenter says, absolutely this. Also, stop helping them. They've clearly got their priorities messed up if a party comes before feeding their family. Commenter says, "Say, what are you doing planning such a huge event on my dime when you can't even afford dinner? Not the arsehole." Another commenter says, "Plan a special day with you and the kids. Go to an arcade, get cake or cupcakes. Let the parents handle the adult party." So it was 3 weeks after this that OP did come back in and says, "So update time since some people were asking for one. For starters, I told my sister ahead of time that I will not be attending the party due to my brother-in-law's extremely annoying family, and I will not be helping with the cost because it is not what they wanted to do. Instead of attending, I sent my nieces money over Cash App 2 days after posting the original post and agreed to take them to an arcade next week for another birthday party. My sister and brother-in-law took their money and used it to buy fast food for themselves, my 3 nieces, and my brother-in-law's aunt. So there's that. Let's cut to this past Sunday, their birthday party. It stormed the entire time, and about 45 minutes before the party ended, it got extremely humid and gross. The decorations were destroyed, the food was rained on. It was a mess. Just as I assumed, there were about 30 people there, and they received 2 gifts each and around $150 each from their grandpa, my sister's father, mine and my sister's great aunt and their aunt, my brother-in-law's sister. One of these had no friends there because of the storm, and the other had a friend show up for about 30 minutes and left because of the rain. Barely any kids were there. My nieces are very much looking forward to going to the arcade and getting some boba. They seemed disappointed in their birthday party, and I'm genuinely upset for them. I wish they could have had a better party, but I will always strive to give them the best, even if I look foolish. Commenter says, "How about open a new bank account under your name and you hold the money for them until they are old and independent enough. Also, for in the future, if they have a job, it can be deposited into that account." And one more commenter says, "I don't know if you can actually protect your sister's kids from your sister's lifetime of willful financial incompetence. Their selfishness, short-sightedness, greed, and laziness seems endless." Oof, when OP gave the girls money and it was immediately spent by the parents on fast food, I was just like, oh, dearie me. And OP's heart's clearly in the right place, just wants to do right by the nieces, but at some point, I think you just need to step back and stop helping with money, which I know is going to be detrimental to the nieces at the same time, but they're not receiving the money anyway that you want for them. What's the point? It just becomes enabling the parents' shitty decisions. I really hope OP finds a way to still support the nieces without giving the parents money to make these stupid choices. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from Yogurt Closet OK 8317 and says, "Would I be the arsehole if I refused to be a bridesmaid in my best friend's wedding?" So I, 25 female, recently learned that one of my best friends from college, Leela, 25 female, is engaged. I'm incredibly happy for her, and I was initially excited until she told me what her and her fiancé, Ben's, 27 male, plans are for the wedding. For some background, I met Leela in college. We were dorm roomies in freshman year. Ben roommates again at a nearby apartment in junior year. Senior year she moved in with Ben and I got a new roommate. A few months later, the pandemic began. Ben and Leela used the pandemic to try and develop interest together. Both of them enjoyed their at-home movie dates, so they tried to find film and TV series to watch together. A month into this endeavor, one of Ben's friends suggested Game of Thrones, and to say they got hooked is an understatement. Aside from her chosen field study/work, I've legitimately never seen Leela so passionate about something. It became her and Ben's life. They watched the series, read the books, and even started dressing up for conventions. I thought it was super sweet, but I'm not much of a high fantasy person, and I've heard the show is heavy on gore and SA, which I have a lot of trouble sitting through. Leela did invite once to a rewatch party she and Ben hosted the next year, 2021, but I declined and told her why, and she's not made efforts to get me interested since, and says she gets it. While I would definitely call Leela and Ben's interest in the show obsessive, they don't push it onto other people, and it's not caused issues so far when me or other friends aren't into it. That being said, I'm worried that if I refuse to be a bridesmaid in her wedding due to a Game of Thrones theme, I'm worried she'll actually take it poorly. I don't know if this makes me an arsehole, but I genuinely do not want to put money into a dress, hair and makeup for me to be styled as an imaginary character for a wedding. It feels ridiculous. She and her husband are going to be married dressed as their favorite characters, who are also either in a relationship or they think they should be. All the names are hard to keep up with and I get them confused. And the bridesmaids and groomsmen will also be styled to look like other characters, and the guests will be asked to wear the house colors of the character the bride or groom is dressed as, depending on which one invited them. We haven't been assigned characters yet, but I don't care. I don't want to do it. I want Ben and Leela to have their special day, and I want it to be what they want. But I don't want to pay good money for what they are essentially costumes of fake people. It feels weird, but I want to be supportive and not be a dick. Would I be the arsehole if I backed out? Edit. Just to clarify two things. My main concern is how much money I have to sink into this because she doesn't want simple dresses that sort of go with the characters. She wants full, somewhat extensive costuming and most likely expensive styled lace fronts. I don't want to sink money into something that I'm going to feel ridiculous wearing. Also, I wasn't necessarily asked. I was just added to the group chat and she said, "You're all going to be my bridesmaids." I replied excitedly before she started rolling out all these expectations. Edit 2. I can't keep up with these comments. I'm seeing some common threads. No, I don't think her wedding idea is stupid. No, it's not the theme that's throwing me off. No, I don't hate the show. She wants us to get new custom wigs and costumes. It will be at serious expense to each of us, and she'll be keeping it all afterwards to display in her Game of Thrones room. I love Leela and think of her wedding theme as going to be fun. I just don't know if I can financially keep up, and if I could, it'd be a lot of money going to something I really won't be comfy in that I then have to turn over to her. So I'll never get any more use out of it. That's where my conflicting lies. I do not hate her or her theme or the show. I'm just worried about being physically uncomfortable in an expensive costume. That then will go on a mannequin. It's also going to be an outdoor ceremony in spring, and I'm worried about the layers getting too warm. So in the comments, someone said, no one's an asshole here at this point. They have a right to have a wedding the way they want. You have no obligations to be a part of it. That said, instead of flat out backing out, you may consider being upfront about limits to your expenses and time commitment. Also, if they both dress in red and get blonde hair, be concerned. OP says, thank you for the advice. I do really hope she has a wonderful wedding. I'm sure it's going to be amazing and there's going to be lots of details going into it. I just don't know if I can spend money to basically cosplay for a day. I think she's going to be a redhead girl, if that helps. Commenter says, info. Is this really more expensive than it would normally be? Being in a wedding party is often costly. Gotta rent a tux or buy a dress you'll never wear again. Get your hair done with a bride, etc. Opie says quite a bit more expensive. And I read back our text. She's going to be keeping our costumes for a Game of Thrones room. Commenter replies saying, if she wants to keep them, she can pay for them. Someone says, what's the cost looking like? Opie says, if they were willing to pay, I wouldn't care if they put me in a paper sack, honestly. If the limit was 1k, I'd pay. But we're looking at a minimum of like 3k. What the hell? Another one says, who is her friend / the bride cosplaying as? Opie says, some of the commenters have helped me figure out it's a girl named Sansa. When I googled that one, the pics look like what Leela showed me. I don't know who Ben is. I just know she made a comment about how his hair is dark enough / right length that he won't need a wig, just some styling. He's got dark brown hair, basically black and some lighting. Does that help at all? Because telling people Leela's character was a redhead helped. Now for me, it wouldn't bother me if someone wanted a theme wedding. That sounds quite fun to me. I remember a while back, a couple of years maybe, we talked about a wedding and it was a medieval theme and it sounded like really fun, to be quite honest. But expecting bridesmaids to shed out 3k on custom costumes, wigs, styling, all that other good stuff. Then the bride to keep it all afterwards for a display room. Come on now, that's taking the piss. Because at that point, you're not asking people to be bridesmaids. You're asking them to fund, you know, your collection. And OP wasn't even really rejecting the wedding theme because she said, you know, if they paid for it, she'd be happy in a sack, you know. But OP gave what was their final post on the matter and said, I got a warning about word count after my last edit, so I'm dropping the info here. Ben is dressing as someone named Sandor. Okay, so I decided to read up on the characters they're dressing as, and I'm noping out of this wedding. I'm also done answering questions and dealing with the post. Bye. The editor's note on this one said, a Sansa and Sandor wedding cosplay is just wrong because it turns a relationship based on survival, trauma, and fear into a romantic fairy tale. In the story, Sansa is a terrified child prisoner, while the Hound is a battle-hardened adult warrior who at one point even threatens her at knife point. While he occasionally protects her, their bond is defined by a massive age gap and intense power imbalance, not love. The cost alone would have had me backing out $3,000 on an outfit, but then to find out that the couple that they've picked, holy shit, that's some choice that is. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Bloody hell. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here. Truly is absolutely amazing. And I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love.
Wake up, get up, stretch my legs, eat some breakfast, milk and eggs, brush my teeth up, wash my face, throw my clothes on, start my day. Wake up, I can smell the smoke from the bacon. Let's go, see the sun shining from the windows.